What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 61 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast here on YouTube. I am Dave. I am here with my brothers, Christian and Matt, to discuss stories around the soccer world. And we have our favorite recurring guest, Christian Sandler, here as well. Christian, how are you doing? Christian Sandler?
I am doing well, Dave. Happy to be on as usual. And my beloved Fulham are in great form. Therefore, I am in great form and ready to get started here.
Awesome. I will ask you to repeat that because we are not going live yet on the recording, but appreciate hearing that. Matt, just say hello, and Matt, say hello.
Hello.
There you go, YouTubers. That's what Matt looks like. And Christian Knittel, say hello.
Hello.
And there's that pretty face. Okay, I think we are ready to jump right into things and start recording here.
Oh my God, you think I'm pretty?
Yeah. It's so pretty. All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 61 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, and I am here with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. And we are here with Christian Sandler as well this week, one of our favorite recurring guests. Christian Sandler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dave. Happy to be on. Fulham is good. I'm good. World's good.
Awesome. The world is good. Christian Knittel, how are you doing today?
I'm so glad you pronounced our last name right that time.
Oh,
that was just
couldn't
really
say name. Yeah, you tried to get me.
I'm doing okay. Liverpool really made me want to kill myself today. But outside of that, the Eagles won yesterday. We're going to the Super Bowl, and I don't care. It's not soccer related. It's worth mentioning here.
Okay, glad you don't want to kill yourself. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Dave. Yeah, I'm also very excited about the Eagles and coming home for the Super Bowl. I can't wait to be back in Philly. So I'm looking forward to that. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing all right. I'm buzzing after the Eagles win, but obviously down after that Liverpool loss. That was really, really frustrating to watch, but we're going to power through it, because the people need their podcast and we need to rise above it. Before we get into everything here, Christian, do you have a trivia question for our listeners?
Hey guys, I do have a trivia question this week, and I was prepared last week. I want to just everyone be aware because
we're all aware.
Dave tried to steal focus away last week, and
that's what I do.
To know I was ready. So this week our podcast trivia question is brought to you by John Truman, my roommate. Do you guys know why Cesar Azpilicueta is called Dave by the Chelsea fans?
Okay. Okay.
Do you know why?
So, we'll give our guesses at the end because listeners, may have guesses as well. So we will all
know
on that. Yeah, I believe so.
I think we talked about this.
Well, I'd still like the trivia question. So let's.
Wait, I don't like that then.
No. All right. We're going with it. We're rolling with it. Listeners, if you don't know, think it over. And at the end, we will reveal it. Before we get into our topics real quick, I want to give a couple quick plugs. So I am the founder of Fan Futsal, which is a simplified fantasy soccer website. It's been down and we've been going through some issues recently, but talked with my development team. We should be back up and running in the next few weeks. We're simplifying fantasy soccer, making it easier for all soccer fans to play. So we have you select teams instead of individual players and really simplify the scoring, and just a whole lot of fun. And when we're back up and running, we can all play on there, and it'll just be so much fun. Also wanted to give two quick plugs. So we launched a new YouTube channel called The Soccer Tavern. I'm on there making videos just about the world of soccer. Our most recent video is about the history of the word soccer. So you should go check that out. Search The Soccer Tavern on YouTube. And anyone who's listening to this podcast but not watching us live on YouTube, we do this thing live on YouTube. You can watch us, record live, interact, message with us. We are on the Fan Futsal YouTube channel. So go on there, search Fan Futsal, search Bros Talking Soccer podcast. We will start recording on Sunday nights. Right now we're recording on a Monday night, but definitely go on there, follow us, and you can follow along, and it's just great. Now that my plugs are over, let's get into our topics this week. So first one I wanted to talk about is we're starting a little silly here, our first two topics, but the first one was the Chelsea versus Norwich match. I believe it was FA Cup, may have been League Cup, but in it, Chelsea had a couple players sent off, and Morata was sent off for 2 yellows, the second one being a dive, and a Chelsea fan decided it was a good idea to run onto the pitch and try to confront the referee about it. He ended up getting tackled before he could get there and ended up dropping his cigarettes, and the Norwich player handed them back to him, and he was just kind of walked off. It was just a whole sort of weird scene. Christian Sandler, have you seen the video? What do you make of this whole scene?
Yeah, I have seen the video. my first thought is like this is so typical to happen at Chelsea. Like there's just such a sense of entitlement there. Like God forbid you send off our player who blatantly dived and is dove before, has a history of diving, as do other players on Chelsea. Just obnoxious. And again, something that has happened at Stamford Bridge before and will happen again because that's what happens there in that place.
All right, that's not coming from a Fulham bias in any way, I am sure. Christian Knittel, what are your thoughts there on this?
Okay, so I was home sick from work on Wednesday, and I got to watch this whole game. Well, first of all, yes, it was the FA Cup. The League Cup is down to 4 teams, and Chelsea is not one of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was the FA Cup.
No,
And that
Chelsea
was...
is one of them. It's Chelsea Arsenal, right?
Oh, yeah, it is, but that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They're playing Arsenal. They're not Norwich. It was ridiculous. The Chelsea fans are some of the worst fans in the league. I really think that they are. I just can't stand them. Every time I watch them, they're so quiet. It doesn't seem like there's any joy in them. I guess it's because they have expectation. I don't know. The way they play is not enjoyable to watch either. So I understand. If I was sitting in that stands, I'd just be unhappy too. It is really funny to watch, though. That the Norwich player picks him up, is like, hey, before you leave, here you go. Don't forget these. It was just a really funny situation. And for this team to keep diving, they got 2 sending offs for diving. Are you kidding me? In one game? That you need to get your shit together over there. Conte, get your team's act together, or you're going to be out the door soon, which you would have been had you not won that game on penalties.
Yeah, and Conte came out, in fairness to him, said he doesn't want to win matches this way. He doesn't want to earn penalties. And so he came out against his players for diving. So fairness to him for doing that. Matt, what were your thoughts on this video and just Chelsea?
Well, the video, I think it's like kind of strange how it just seems like this was like a natural thing from the way the video is taken. Like the guy just kind of walks into your screen and just kind of walks up to the ref. Like as if it was like, no, there wasn't like that big of a reaction. Like the stewards just kind of like walked up to the guy to usher him off. It's not like he was like tackled really. It just seemed like way too easy and just such a common thing for, a top, 20 team in the world, just have their fans just on the pitch. And just be like kind of seemingly normal. And I just thought that was very strange. And the fact that the players are delivering them their cigarettes when they drop them, I think that just puts the cherry on top. Like it was just like a normal day, Oh, yeah. Hey, sir, you dropped your cigarettes.
Yeah, that was the thing probably that I took away from all this. It's that the stewards didn't seem to react. Nobody was getting tased. Nobody was being tackled. It was just sort of, run of the mill. Oh yeah, another guy on the pitch. And then the Norwich, nobody seemed to like care all too much. And the topping it all off with the player handing, the cigarettes back to the guy was just, icing on the cake. So overall, pretty hilarious story there. Christian Sandler, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, you know where that wouldn't happen? Craven Cottage.
Yeah, I figured that was coming.
Also, Norwich showing class, which is something that Chelsea doesn't have.
Okay. All right. Christian Knittel, anything else you want to add real quick?
Do they have tasers over there?
Have they found that technology?
What does that mean? Yeah, I'm certain Britain has gotten the taser technology.
No, I mean, do they have them like on the stewards in the stadium?
I don't know. I don't know.
Stop spreading.
They should have guns.
You sound like the sun over there.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that they could. I mean, what I was saying is that we have tasers over here. There's a famous video of I think it was at the Philly Stadium, right?
It was at the Phillies.
yeah, Philly representing.
We have the best fans in the world.
Ran onto the
Don't
field.
get it wrong.
Yes. All right. So with that, let's keep this thing moving along onto another ridiculous story from England. It starts in Denmark, and apparently this former player who used to play with Sean Dyche said in an interview on a podcast that Dyche used to eat worms and he used to freak this guy out. And so Sean Dyche was asked about this at a press conference. For those who don't know, Sean Dyche is the manager of Burnley. Burnley's having a pretty good season. They're doing very well. He's one of the most highly thought of managers in England right now. But he actually had to address these rumors in a press conference. And so apparently what he used to do was he used to take worms when it was raining and put them on the side of his mouth and then act like he was chewing them. And this guy, I guess, believed that he was actually eating them. And he just used to do it to just like mess with people. And clearly it worked. Christian, what do you make of all of this? Do you believe that he didn't eat worms, or do you think he actually did? And what do you just make of all of this?
I think this is hysterical. I don't believe. I don't know who I believe in this situation. I think that he's lying. I think he did eat them, and he's trying to cover his tracks now. I think that he's full of shit over there. I think he's probably now trying to cover his tracks because that's a weird thing for an adult to have to admit to people. Like, why would you do? Like, is there more to the story? Like, why he did it? Like, was it an intimidation?
He just said it was
factor?
for banter. No. So this was his teammate, and he would do it in training. It was just banter. He just thought it was funny.
It's so weird. Like, it is a weird thing, and I believe that he was eating them. Like, I really, really firmly do. He looks like a worm eater over there.
I can get on board with that. Matt, what was your take on this story? What do you think about Dyche and all of this?
No, I just think it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I guess if I had to pick somebody that would be a worm eater, I mean, I'm not ruling him. I'm not ruling him out. Yeah, so I think it's kind of. I think it's just a ridiculous story, but also, yeah, who would eat worm? Like, is there any benefit to eating a worm?
I've seen people eat worms in my day, and it's really awful. It makes me.
Do you know more about the game? Do you know more about the sport if you eat worms? Like,
well, it depends what kind of worm you eat. Certain worms make you more intelligent to the game of soccer.
So in researching this, so I swear to God, in researching this story, I stumbled across something. I don't know how I went down a wormhole. You know, puns aside. Yeah, hey-o. But apparently, in earthworms or whatever, if an earthworm completes a maze and they somehow take the genetics from that earthworm and inject it into another earthworm, the new earthworm can do the maze without ever having seen it before. There's some sort of technology like that, or not technology, but some sort of like worms have that technology, transformative property. So,
it teaches you the tactics.
So
okay, there you go. It teaches you tactics on a soccer field as well.
Yeah.
So if I inject myself with an earthworm, I'll be able to get out of a maze.
Exactly. Precisely. Christian Sandler, what do you make of this story here?
Yeah, well, that's good to know. That might come in handy someday. No, personally, I don't really care about this story, but I will say that I don't think something like this comes about randomly. Like, you don't just walk around accusing someone of eating worms. Like, it is too specific. There's details involved. So I'm under the impression that there is some truth to this story. Whether or not he ate the worms, I just don't care.
Yeah, it is, but it is such like a weird thing to do. But I guess, you know, when you're a professional soccer player, I think you just get up to some weird things. And again, I think this strikes me as just something that, you know, he's doing on the sideline just to mess with other players, and clearly it worked. So I find it all funny.
As our journalist in here, he's got to be the one to test the validity of all these statements. So we're going to need you to make sure you get all these facts and make sure that you check all the facts of other people bringing in these stories.
I will have to get back to you on my worm fact checking. Yes.
All right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Now let's switch over to some real soccer news here. Alexis Sanchez has moved from Arsenal to Manchester United, and Henrik Mkhitaryan has gone in the opposite direction. I believe there was no transfer fee. It was just a straight swap of players. I could be wrong on that, but we'll tweet out the official deal and details here. But as part of the transfer, Alexis Sanchez Manchester United is apparently going to have to pay 180 million pounds over the course of 4.5 years between agent fees, between signing bonus, and between wages for Sanchez, who I think is going to be on like £400,000 to £500,000 a week, all because he didn't have a transfer fee. And so instead of any of that money going to a transfer fee, he can get all of that in wages. Matt, what do you make of Alexis swapping Arsenal for United, and also just the wage structure of his deal? Is he worth that much money?
All right. Well, the switch itself, I think it's interesting. I kind of think it makes sense for both teams because Mkhitaryan didn't want to be at United and Sanchez didn't want to be at Arsenal. How they're doing business with each other, especially with how, you know, tight they are in, you know, the top of England throughout history. So I think that's just interesting how they do business with each other like that, especially for like a like player swap, just like kind of like a straight like player swap. I think that's just interesting. But I think Alexis is going to be good for United. I think the way Mourinho rotates players is very subpar. So I think it's kind of going to be interesting to see what happens with Rashford, Martial, who's having a great year, Lingard if he gets dropped, even though this is the best. So the way United rotates players, I don't think that makes too much sense, bringing in somebody who, like Alexis, if they're not going to rotate him as much. But and what he's worth, the transfer fee, you can say he kind of deserves that money, but I don't think he's worth with the fourth highest player now,
something like
in
that,
terms of wage. Yeah, so I don't think he's necessarily the fourth best player if we're assuming that wage equals, talent.
Okay, Christian Sandler, I know you had some serious thoughts on all of this, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, has anyone called the Wambulance yet? We should probably get on that because Sanchez is a crybaby. I have a few problems with this deal. First and foremost, we'll start with Sanchez. I'm sick and tired of his antics. He's coming out here as if he's been in this horrible situation. Like, oh my God, thank the Lord I'm at the world's biggest club now. It was miserable back at Arsenal, as if he was playing at Blackpool, some lowly club. Oh my God, I'm too good for Arsenal. I can't possibly play at Arsenal. I want to be in the Champions League. Sanchez, you want to be in the Champions League? Why don't you score goals and play well and get Arsenal there yourself? Like, my biggest problem with deals like this is we make these players out as if they have no control over their situations. You have a lot of control over your situation. You went to the club. If you perform well, you will get in the side. Matt just brought up Lingard. Look at a guy like Lingard. I mean, he's scoring a ton of goals, and guess what? He's starting. Like, that's what happens. You're much better than Lingard, Sanchez. I mean, that was your thing. You haven't played well. Stop making the Arsenal thing out to be this miserable situation. Like, that is one of the biggest clubs in the world. If Manchester United is the biggest club, fine. But Arsenal is a massive club. Is some of it on Wenger? No. In this situation, I don't think any of it is on Wenger. Mkhitaryan, I'll get to him in a second. That, you can argue, had a lot of managerial decisions involved. Sanchez is one of the best players in the world, man. Like, that's on him. You want to do well. You want to score, get in the Champions League. Stop with the charades. Now I'm at United, and now everything's better. Thank God I've moved past that miserable situation. That's a terrible attitude. He's a crybaby.
So what do you think about him fitting in at United, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think can he do well at United? Sure. I mean, there are pieces for him there. I mean, he's going to be part of, I think, 5 or 6 of players that are going to be vying for spots. You can't play all of their attackers at once. So, he should get the nod over Lingard and Martial and Rashford, but it's going to be up to him. And, I'll be interested to see how it plays out. I don't blame United for going after him, but I do blame Sanchez for his attitude. And Mkhitaryan, like I said, is a little different because I think, Mourinho didn't do him proper service at times. He was in stellar form. At one point, he was United's best player. It wasn't even close. I mean, he was in great form. A couple weeks later, he's on the bench for a month straight. So that was a sticky situation. But again, I have a problem with him coming out and saying that, oh my God, I've always wanted to play at Arsenal. This is such a dream. Let's just forget about the whole United thing that just happened. No, you were at United and you didn't do well. Some of that is on you. I understand if you want to play at Arsenal, but I got news for you, man. Everyone liked watching Thierry Henry play. Like, that's not a good enough reason for me. I just think these players have more control than we lead on. And it's really frustrating. And the last part I wanted to mention was why are we committing to Sanchez for 4 years? I don't care about the money. The money's outrageous in this climate. Why are we committing to a 29-year-old unstable Sanchez for 4 years? That's a poor business decision. There is no way he is a top player at that club for 4 seasons. That's stupid. This whole deal is very frustrating. I can go on but I won't.
All right, fair enough. Christian Knittel, what are your thoughts on all of this, both the deal of United, Arsenal perspective, and Sanchez's wages and all of that?
Oh, man. This guy, for one, does not deserve that amount of money. I don't care if the transfer fee was low. You do not need to give him that much. And the only reason he went to United is because City weren't going to give him that. He clearly wanted to go to City first. And his bullshit interview that he gave today makes me enraged at what he said, that City can't ever compete with United because of all the stuff that United has done over the years. I understand that to an extent, but City right now are far and away a better team and will be for the foreseeable future. They are. They're far away from anyone else in England. He said, I've only ever wanted to work with Mourinho. You just were ranting about how you wanted to be with Pep again because he brought you to Barcelona. He is the most inconsistent, arrogant person out there, and he deserves to be at a club like that because they're a fucking piece of shit, that team over there.
Whoa.
I do not like the way that club is run. They get another player who's arrogant, and it's just going to take away from United's really good core of young players they have right now. Martial, Rashford, Lingard are all going to lose time now, and they're bringing in a player who's just going to break up the dressing room once he gets sick of this one. He's done it everywhere he's been. He is really, really a talented player with a horrible, horrible attitude, and it ends up costing his teams in the long run. Sidebar, Mkhitaryan, I really, really like as a player, and I think that's an awesome move for Arsenal. They're getting money plus him, and if he gets into the right system, at Dortmund, he was incredible. He could really, really star, and if they bring Aubameyang in too, I'd be worried about Arsenal making a real run at the second half of this year.
I know Matt thinks that. So in fairness to Sanchez, he's an incredibly talented player. And as professionals, players only have a certain period of time where they can maximize value. So in all fairness to him, he's maximizing his value and going after the most money. So I'm not going to fault him for that. I do fault United for exactly the reasons you guys brought up. They're benching Martial and Rashford. I'm not benching, but I mean, Martial, Rashford, and Lingard. Lingard's getting older, but Martial and Rashford still have a bright future and need to be getting minutes. And so bringing in Sanchez, I think, is relegating them to bench or bit part roles. Additionally, it's going to completely upset the wage structure at that club. So Sanchez is going to be making, close to double anybody else there. And I don't think he's worth that. And so he may be able to get that just because they didn't have to pay a transfer, but the other players aren't going to necessarily care. And at the end of the day, on the books, Sanchez is making double what Paul Pogba might be making. I mean, I just don't think that's right. And I think that there is potential for issues from that perspective. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it.
Okay, good. Christian Knittel?
So he also quoted today saying he spoke to Henry and he's leaving for the same reason Henry did. Dude, you were nothing compared to what Henry did for Arsenal. He brought you them trophies. He continually brought them wins, and he is their leading goal scorer of all time. And he took them to a Champions League final. This guy can't even compare. Yes, he had a better team around him, but Henry was one of the best strikers of our generation. And he
won some FA Cups.
Okay.
He won some FA Cups, but also in fairness to him, in fairness to Sanchez, because we're being very harsh on Sanchez, Sanchez wasn't saying that he was Henry. Henry left because he said Arsenal needed to blood in youngsters and he wasn't ready to go through a transitional phase with
That is
Arsenal.
not why he's leaving. That's one is buying that.
So that's what that is
Henry,
why he's leaving.
No, Henry, yeah. I don't agree that's why Alexis is leaving.
I think so. I think he thinks United and City, which were the two clubs that he was going to, are in a better position long-term than Arsenal is going to be. Who on Arsenal is...
Well, you just said Henry left so that the younger players could come through. Well, that's not why Alexis is leaving. He's not trying to help them.
No. So what I'm saying is, he's not trying to help them. What he's saying is Henry left because he couldn't win at Arsenal anymore. Arsenal was going through a transitional phase. He recognized that, so he wanted to go to Barcelona where he could still win trophies. That is why Henry left, and that is why Alexis is leaving.
Yeah, I mean, none of these players that leave Arsenal since Henry have left in a decent way. Nasri, Van Persie, Sanchez, they all just make their own fans hate them, and they got to do better.
All right, fair enough. Christian Sandler, real quick, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Sanchez, please stop with the charades, man. You're full of shit. You know what I think the problem is, Dave, to close out here? I don't think players in this climate have a sense of loyalty or pride or self-respect or finishing what you've started. I just think it's all about the money. It's all about me. I'm not buying anything from Sanchez. I'm sorry. You make a valid point. I will not buy it for 1 second from Sanchez. and it's a joke, frankly.
All right. I get this. I go back and forth with Christian Knittel about this, but in loyalty, there is no loyalty anymore. Clubs don't have loyalty to players, so why should players have loyalty to clubs, right? If somebody better than Sanchez was coming along, Arsenal would kick him to the curb. And so it's just the reality of the situation, and I think it's romantic to think players should have loyalty, but at the end of the day, they have a short career. They need to maximize it. So I understand that this is a business. As shitty as that is, and as much as I would like it not to be, it's just the way it works. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. With that, we've run a little bit long in this first segment, so we're going to go to a little bit of music, listeners, and we will be. Damn it!
We will bleed. We will bleed.
We are going to be back with our second segment soon. God damn it! I gotta not say we will.
I said you gotta say wheel.
No, I can't say wheel. I just got to go completely. We're going to be back. We're going to be back. No wheel.
I'll be back.
Yeah. All right. Fuck. God damn it. All right. Anything else? Any issues? Or we ready to keep this thing rolling along?
We ready?
We ready.
We ready. Oh, we ready.
All right. All right. You guys got to keep going.
Ready.
Yep.
Anybody? Looks like we may have one viewer on YouTube. Hello, one viewer.
Luke.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey,
sure,
Luke. What's up, Luke? Yeah, but no comments. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to our second segment. Let's change things up. Go across the English Channel over to the continent and talk about La Liga. And over this past weekend, Ronaldo had a clash of heads with another player. Had a little blood coming out of his head, and for some reason, he felt like he needed to check out the cut, and so he was given an iPhone or some sort of smartphone to check out his head wound by, I think, the doctor or whatnot. Christian Sandler, what was your take on this? It's not a great look for somebody who's already considered pretty vain by everybody. So what was your take on him checking himself out?
Yeah, this is similar to the Chelsea thing. Like, would this happen with any other player? Like, would any other player on the planet do this? Would they take someone else's phone? I have to check out my beautiful self, and if I'm damaged, like I don't know. I gotta be honest. I think Ronaldo is a wonderful human being, but when he steps onto the soccer pitch, like he's self injects himself with drama. I mean, it's absurd. Like I want to like him because he gives to charity and he doesn't have tattoos because he donates blood all the time. But it's just season after season he does stuff like this, and it's like, come on, man. Like you don't need to do that. I agree completely. It doesn't look good. It perpetuates the negative image that a lot of people have of him already. And again, I cannot even imagine this happening with any other player. No one.
Christian Knittel, your thoughts?
As Lane Johnson said about Tom Brady last night, someone's got to put the pretty boy in his place. I think that it's just Ronaldo. It is. It's just who he is. I'm surprised his makeup artist didn't come out, sew him up, and pat him down. Like, it's just ridiculous how he just needs to always look good for the cameras. Like that's just what he thinks of. I don't know if it's first, but it's one of the first things he thinks of. Probably when he wakes up, when he's awake, and when he's going to bed. Like that's just who he is. And I just don't think he needs to be that way. He does a lot of good for his community. He does a lot of good for Real Madrid, even though this year he's not been at his best. There's no reason for him to behave like that. He gets like 18 haircuts a week. Like it's just ridiculous.
Matt, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I would just like to say he did still look good even with the cut. So I think he does think about that at all times. I think it's just part of who he is. But I didn't really have a problem with this necessarily. I mean, he was bleeding like a lot. I would kind of want to see, like, oh, what's going on up there? It was like the 88th minute. They were up 6-1 at the time, right? Or like the 87th minute, they're up 6-1. It's not like it was that important of, a time in the game. And I was just curious where the phone came from. Like, did the med, I don't know what to call him, like the medical guy, the med kit guy.
I'm pretty sure they had it.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
He just handed him his phone. Like, hey, check yourself out. Or did Ronaldo ask for it?
I got to imagine Ronaldo asked for it.
I believe that as well. Although he may have said it to the medical team before every game, hey, have your phone ready in case I get hurt.
Oh, my God.
He's always thinking one step ahead, though. So hat off to him.
Hashtag branding. But Christian Sandler, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, the guy is really, really a great person off the field by all accounts, at least as far as donating to charity. I mean, there's some other stories that he's not so great, but as far as like donating to charity, donating blood and all of that, I mean, he seems like, he does really well, but then, he's always taking his shirt off and, always doing stuff on the field, his antics and all of that. I think it just rubs people the wrong way. And this iPhone thing or whatever, maybe it was an iPhone, but this phone thing, I don't think helps that picture. Anything else to add?
Yeah, Ronaldo, our 17-year-old left back has more goals than you this season. Maybe like stop looking in the mirror for a couple minutes and do some sports better. I don't know, man.
Matt?
So do you have a problem with players who take their shirt off?
No, but he just seems to do it at every single opportunity that he can get, which is just interesting. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you got it, flaunt it, but I know it rubs some people the wrong way.
Okay. I was just asking if it rubbed you the wrong way.
Just asking for a fan.
Okay.
No, if you got it, flaunt it. I don't mind it, but I know it rubs some people the wrong way. With that, let's move things along. Let's go back to England here and talk about something that I saw in the news now. When I sent out these topics, it was applicable, but it may not be anymore because it's rumored Chelsea is going to be signing Edison Dzeko. So maybe
Wait, what?
Edson Dzeko?
I don't think his name is Edison.
No, it's not. How do you pronounce his name?
Edin Dzeko?
Edin?
Yeah.
Who the hell's Edinson? I don't know. So I'm making names up.
Ederson is the goalie for Man City.
Yeah, I think I'm combining lots of different people into his first name, but Dzeko. I know his last name's Dzeko from Roma, but before that, Chelsea was rumored to be signing possibly Andy Carroll. Then it was Peter Crouch. Then it was Ashley Barnes, and eventually they signed or I don't know if it's official yet, but they're rumored to be in for Dzeko, which I think fits a little bit better. But Christian, what did you make of Chelsea going after those three? I mean, what I'll call mediocre English strikers.
Wow, mediocre is a very kind word to use. I feel like, and that for a club like Chelsea, are you kidding me that you're going to be targeting those players? I mean, Peter Crouch. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy. He was so good back in the day. He's what, 37 now? Something like that?
I think 36, but either way,
okay.
He's old.
He does what he does. Like he plays his role. He holds the ball up well. He wins headers. But he's not a Chelsea type of striker. I know Morata's not doing well. He really just doesn't look great out there every time he plays. But that's not the player to bring in. Andy Carroll? Are you kidding me? Did you see what he did at Liverpool? No. That's a ridiculous striker to try and bring in at this age. What is he? 28 now? Maybe 29?
I think late 20s.
Yeah. He's not going to help them. He's not going to win them trophies. He's not going to be their guy. Even off the bench, I don't think he's going to make the impact. And who's it? Ashley Barnes. Ashley Barnes has been playing well this year. He's a Burnley striker. He's doing what he needs to do to hold the ball up. Finishes his chances when they come. Although Burnley aren't really finishing many chances. He helps them win those games 1-0 when the time's right. Still, he's not the Chelsea type of striker. They need a world-class striker. Not that I want to see it happen. I'd be so thrilled to see them sign somebody like this. I would just laugh in their face. But for a club expectant of titles every single year, you have to bring in someone who's going to make that impact from the start, or even someone off the bench that you know is going to provide you goals, is going to be that guy that you can go to in big moments.
Matt, thoughts on Chelsea rumored for those three English strikers? And maybe, I know you're a Dzeko fan, as am I. I mean, what do you think about them, eventually settling on him?
Yeah, so first I'll say Dzeko. I think he's incredible. I think he'll do the job for him as a backup. That's just an incredible luxury if Chelsea do that. I think he would even push for Morata starting role. I'm pretty sure they're trying to bring in a backup, right? They're not trying to replace Morata because I think they're talking about getting rid of Batshuayi or Batshuayi, however you pronounce that.
Batshuayi's been better than Morata this season when he's played.
But Conte doesn't seem to rate him.
So, yeah, Morata hasn't been finishing well, but I think he's still done very well. I think he does a very good job moving the ball. He knows where to be. He knows how to play at that speed. I mean, he played for Juventus and Real Madrid. He knows how to play at the Champions League level speed. I know the Premier League's different, but Chelsea's competing in Champions League. They need players like that. I think Morata's going to help them there. And so let me talk to Andy Carroll and Peter Crouch here and Ashley Barnes. I don't think that's necessarily what you need from Chelsea. I mean, I guess English players, you get the. Are they struggling for English players right now? I'm trying to think of their team.
I feel like Chelsea always kind of struggles because they
signed Barkley.
Yeah, they sign lots of internationals and they loan out a lot of their academy kids. So I think they're always looking for English internationals.
Yeah, so that's like the only reason I could try to think of why on earth they were looking at these three. But yeah, for Chelsea to be looking at them, I don't think it makes sense other than to get an extra roster spot for English players.
Fair enough. Christian Sandler, I know you're not the biggest Chelsea fan, but what are your thoughts here?
I got to be honest with you guys. I'm sitting here trying to find a way to take this story seriously. I really want to be independent here, but I can't. This is propaganda. This is a joke. Chelsea signing Andy Carroll is a joke. The sole reason that this story would come out is because let's talk about Chelsea and how they have the only system at this level that could make Andy Carroll work. Conte could do it. Our coaching staff could do it. This is a joke. They were never going to sign Andy Carroll, Ashley Barnes. I don't know why they're putting this story out there. To me, again, I would expect nothing less from Chelsea. On the field, I really have not been impressed with Morata this season at all from what I've seen from him. I would think Dzeko would be better immediately. Maybe that's a little much, but I don't know. While I don't think Andy Carroll is the answer, I also don't think you're going to win a title with Morata right now. I mean, so I can fully understand going after Dzeko. Why don't you just do that and keep all the bullshit on the side, guys? I mean, it's ridiculous. We're doing Chelsea a favor here by talking about them, by the way, so we need to stop doing that.
All right, fair enough. I think that's our last Chelsea topic for the day. But in fairness to Morata, so Matt, he does have the experience with Juve and Madrid, but in both those, he was a backup off the bench player. He's never been the main man especially for a big club, and he started off really well, but he's kind of been hitting a slump, and it may just be that this is his first season where he's actually had to carry the workload. And so I think he's a talented player, and I think he may just be going through a natural struggle. And, I think it may help if they have another player to really push him. And, for whatever reason, Conte doesn't rate bats. But if, they bring in Dzeko, maybe that lights a fire under him. Christian Knittel, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't mention Dzeko during my first little speech there.
Yep.
I think Dzeko is a great player. He's very underrated. And his time at Man City, he was so good. People forget that he scored that equalizing goal in that game where they scored in the 92nd minute and then Aguero scores in the 95th to win them the title.
I know Matt doesn't forget.
That goes so under
94th.
the radar, I feel like. It goes so under the radar that Dzeko was a huge part of that comeback too. He's a really, really good striker. And yeah, he might not be world class. He might not be in the top 10. But he's a player who can make a difference for a team, and I think it's a really good move if Chelsea bring him in.
Agreed. I've always rated him very highly. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're fine.
All right, let's go on to our last topic in our second segment. And I know we've talked about Goretzka to Bayern in the past, but I wanted to make the conversation more general. So it came out that it's official. Leon Goretzka is moving from Schalke to Bayern in the summer. But Bayern is, top of the league in Bundesliga as they are, seemingly every season and running away with things. But Schalke is still competing in the league and, is challenging at least for Champions League spots in that league. But he's already got a contract with Bayern, and there's this weird sort of dynamic that happens in soccer where you can sign pre-contracts. It doesn't really happen in American sports or anything like that. Matt, what's your take on kind of soccer players being able to sign these, 6 months before the end of their contract, sign with another team, but they have to finish out the season with the team that they're currently on?
Yeah, I think that's extremely strange because you're mentally just not all there because you're thinking, in a couple months, you have to prepare yourself to. And I feel like when you know what that next challenge is, you're kind of starting to prepare before it even happens. So I think it's weird how you have, the second half of the season and you're stuck with a team like, the players are going to look at you different, the staff, and you're not going to be there long term. I mean, he has to play his best to get a spot at Bayern and has to keep in form. But I think it's weird. Like the whole culture is going to change. Everyone around you in your old club is just going to look at you differently. Does help out a lot in FIFA career mode. Once you figure out players' contracts are expiring, that does help. You can get a lot of players for free. But yeah, I don't understand necessarily in the real soccer world the purpose of this.
So would you like to see would you like to see a rule that they just can't until their contract is up?
like a free agency period? You know how American sports we have you can't talk to that player until they're technically a free agent.
Yeah.
And then you can, it's pretty much all after them.
Okay. Christian Knittel, your thoughts?
Okay, so in relation to this, in England, it's a rule that you can't talk to clubs in your same league until the end of their contract. I don't know why this isn't the case everywhere. I think that's ridiculous. I think it should be. So
Sanchez, was he not talking to?
Well, they were in
City and
Arsenal.
United.
They were talking to Arsenal, not Sanchez, until they agreed with Arsenal. See, Chan, City were interested. United have been interested in Chan, but they're not allowed to talk to Chan until Liverpool agree to it. Juventus is allowed to, and that's why he's been talking to them. You can't talk in England to teams in your same league. They can't approach a player on another team in their own league. And I really think that is a good rule, and I think that should be carried over into other leagues. It just completely disrupts the entire feel of a team towards a player if they're going to a rival in the next season, especially when Schalke, who's competing for top 4 right now in Germany, are knowing that player is going to leave, and he may not care enough to be at the top level the rest of the season. And I'm not saying Goretzka is going to be that way. You never know. A player could just give their all, be appreciative. Fans would appreciate that, but the fans may already turn against him because he's going to a rival. And this is just a weird situation.
Great. Christian Sandler, your thoughts on just pre-contracts in soccer?
Yeah, this is a totally perplexing case for 2 reasons, I think. The first is the fans have already turned on it. They're calling him a dirty Bayern pig, and it's just – I don't know why you would think that would work. Now for the next few months, the fans are going to be hating on him and probably booing him. And what good does that do anyone? It does Goretzka no good. It does the club no good. Really stupid situation. This type of contract should not exist. This type of deal should not exist. But even more so than that, I was just perplexed at how Bayern is able to obtain this caliber of a player for free. I was going to ask you guys about this. You know more about the Bundesliga, about sort of the financial structure of these leagues. I don't quite understand how you can have one of the hottest prospects in the world at 22 years old being targeted by all these huge clubs in England. All of a sudden, I wake up one morning and Bayern has him, doesn't have to pay for him. It's a free transfer. I don't understand how that can work. There's got to be something. You know, I know Schalke have come out and said they did everything they could to keep him, but I just don't understand how you can send him to Bayern on a totally free transfer.
Well, so they're not
Schalke were powerless to this, and it's Goretzka agreeing to join up with a lot of his international teammates, and he's right. I'm sure they convinced him that way, and I don't agree with it. I think that's really tough, and it's probably best for his career with Germany, and that sucks. But it sucks that a team that is your rival is coming in and stealing your player for free while he's still under contract. I just don't understand how that's allowed to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, Dave. I think I worded that poorly. What I guess what I'm saying is I think Schalke is getting screwed here. Like they should be getting something for this high caliber player. I don't understand how the system is set up to where that isn't happening.
Well, they will. So in fairness to them, they will get training compensation, right? So FIFA has
under 24, right?
Yeah, it's under 23, but 23. They will get. Yeah, they will get, I think it's training compensation. So they've helped develop him in his formative years. So any development time he had spent at the club, it won't be anywhere near as much as if they actually received a transfer fee. But they will get at least something. It's not completely lost. But I mean, this is the power that players have that they so rarely exercise. I mean, Sanchez had it just now. He, just circling back to that conversation, he wound down his contract. And so all the leverage that clubs have sort of that power was lost and it was in the player's hands, and he was able to maximize his value. And Goretzka is doing the same thing. So, more players, I think, and Chan's doing the same thing with Liverpool right now. And so I think I think nowadays with how much money is in the game, and if players feel confident that they're not going to go through an injury, and if they're young, they can take that risk and wind down the contract and sign instead of a club having to pay 30, 40, 50 million for Goretzka, maybe he gets an extra 10 to 20 million in his deal, and it works out for both teams. So in fairness to him, I get why he did it. I just don't like Christian. I didn't realize that was a rule in England, but I really, really like that they can't sign with another club in the league before their contract is up. Because I don't understand why every league isn't like that. Because I'm not questioning anybody's integrity, but there's an element of if players have the ability to sign with another club within their league before, the end of their contract, it's just going to naturally not encourage, but there's just going to be naturally feelings of, well, is this guy trying as hard, or, is he being a full professional or whatnot? And so, I just think to protect the players and the quality and the integrity of the game, that should be a rule everywhere.
It definitely affects their mentality going into a game, especially if they're playing against the team that they're going to join. I wouldn't play Goretzka when they play Bayern again. That would be a ridiculous move. Even though he's probably one of their star midfielders, if not the star midfielder on that team, you just can't trust that he's not being swayed in some type of way. And that's unfortunate, and that's why I really like the way England do it.
Christian Sandler, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
Matt?
Yeah, so what about like loan players playing against their parent clubs? How do you guys feel about that? Do you think they should never play against their parent clubs? Because
well, most of the time they can't.
Courtois beat Chelsea in the Champions League semifinal, right?
Yeah, I think in the Champions League it's okay. I think in domestic leagues you can't play against your parent club, or at least the ones
I think it's
know
up
of.
I think it's up to the parent club, right?
Probably.
Okay, but do you guys have a problem with that, or
yes,
like when they do play?
So I do have a problem with it. I don't think they should play. Like Coman played against when Bayern played Juve. He played against Juve when he was still on loan. It's just weird.
Yeah, I'm with Christian there. Okay. Christian Sandler, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you should ever be on the field with those players at that point. Nothing good can come of that.
Fair enough. All right, with that is the end of our second segment. A little bit more music, and I will talk to you soon. You like that, guys? Weird. See, I just said I'll talk to you soon. So that way I didn't have to say
we will talk to you soon.
Nope, I'm just going to say I or we. I'm not saying we.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Wee woo, wee woo.
All right. Good to keep it rolling?
I'm ready.
Yep.
Welcome back, everyone, to our third and final segment. This time, we're crossing the Atlantic, talking soccer on these shores. So first off, Atlanta signed a huge kind of record-breaking deal for Ezekiel Barco, yep, for $15 million plus potential 30% transfer in 2019 and 10% sell on beyond that. Record-breaking. Kid is 18 years old. Was one of the best players in Argentina, apparently has a really, really bright future. And Atlanta just, changing the game as far as MLS player acquisition and what the league is doing. Christian Sandler, what are your thoughts on Barco joining Atlanta and just overall Atlanta's strategy of signing young, talented players with the potential to have future sell-on fees?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing about Atlanta here is, and I understand fully that money has a lot to do with this, but they've come into MLS and they've really hit the ground running. And, being in a market like Philadelphia where that, we've seen a lot of struggles with the club over the years. It's just kind of discouraging actually to see these new clubs come into the league and succeed so quickly. But whatever they're doing is working. They got Darlington Nagbe, right, as well. I mean, they really are going to have a great squad. And, again, money has a very large portion to do with this. But it's not all money. Something else they're doing is working here. And it's not happening at every club in the league for sure.
Agreed. Christian Knittel, your thoughts on Atlanta and their strategy of player acquisition?
Atlanta's going to be a scary team this year. Their attack is going to be frightening. And I'm really, really excited to actually watch them. And as a Union fan, I hate it. because it's been disheartening for so many years that we are just not competitive and we're not willing to spend where we need to. And I know we're going to disagree there because Dave always seems to disagree with me on all of these things. But
No.
I just I just don't like the way that we go about signing the players that we need to. And I think we need to make moves like that. I know this is exactly the type of move you do want to see. So that would be nice to see an 18-year-old with star potential come into our team. But this deal specifically is great for Atlanta. I think as a business decision, it's huge. You get 30% of the value of a transfer if you have to sell them next year.
No. Sorry. 70% of the transfer. You only give up 30%.
Oh, geez, that's insane.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't phrase that correctly. So for anyone, they signed him for $15 million. If they sell him next year before 2020, they would get 70% of the fee. If they sell him after, anytime 2020 and after, they would get 10%. They would get 90% of the transfer fee. Sorry, Christian. So just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, that's the opposite of what I thought. Okay, cool.
Yeah, my bad.
So that's incredible business by them. And he may go in a year, but it won't matter because they're still getting a large sum of money from him. And if he really is that good on Tata Martino for being from Argentina and recruiting from Argentina. That the reason why you bring in a coach of that experience is for this reason. And he seems to be making a difference in Atlanta, and they're really spending wisely down there.
Matt, your thoughts on Atlanta, their Barco, and just their overall strategy of getting kind of these young, talented South American players with future sell-on potential?
Yeah, I think it's great for the league. We're getting to see young players from other countries, and it's not like he's just some random Argentinian youngster. He was playing really well in what's Argentina's top flight called? I forget what it's called. Just the
I want to
Argentina
say
Premier
Division. Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's good that MLS is being able to get the young guys and not just the guys coming down from the end of their career from these countries. So I think that's something to look forward to. And so I've never watched Argentina's domestic league. So why does our playing styles match up well, or do you think Dave, have you is there a
So I don't
correlation?
Well, I mean, so Argentinian players have always had success in MLS. So dating back to MLS, Guillermo Barros Scalotto. I'm sure I'm butchering the name, but he had success in the league early on. I mean, Diego Valeri is a big success. And what generally happens in the league attracts players that go over to Europe and don't do as well. And then when they kind of fall out of Europe, they kind of crash land in MLS. That's historically speaking how Argentinian players have kind of landed in the league. So there's always kind of been a matchup. I know Argentinian soccer, at least dating back, we're talking almost 100 years ago, they were always incredibly physical, really stout defensively. And so generally speaking, MLS is a very physical league. And so maybe some of those qualities of players coming out of there match up very well with MLS. That would be my assumption. So does that help, Matt?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know Atlanta for, a new organization. They're doing so well already. I think that's good for the league. I think it's just great for the league and great to see, this expansion team doing so well, so quick and kind of figuring it out.
Agreed. And I think what this needs to be a blueprint for all of MLS. Not that we all need to be signing $15 million for 18-year-olds, but I think the league in general should be signing $2, $3, $5 million players that are 18, 19, 20 from South America, or just developing young Americans and selling them on. What MLS has always struggled with is selling players on, and they haven't been great at that because the league doesn't incentivize players and teams to be sold. So hopefully those rules sort of change, and we all hope, and Atlanta really seems to be pushing the envelope forward. So hopefully be looking for that in the future. Christian Sandler, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we touched on all the major points. In any way they can, I mean, clubs like the Union need to sort of take notes here as much as they can. I mean, again, I think a lot of the fans here are discouraged by the success of these brand new clubs in the league.
Agreed. And so since we kind of keep hitting on the Union, that was the next topic we were going to talk about anyways, but the Union finally made a move, signed David Accam, transferred $1.2 million in allocation money, which for those who don't know MLS, it's basically, it's basically salary cap, or it's basically money that every team in the league has, and it can be traded and it can be used to sign players and help manage like budgets and things like that. So it's kind of our version of interleague transfers. We have to make it complicated, and we can't just call it money for whatever reason. So the Union basically bought David Accam for $1.2 million. If you're, in the general, world soccer, that's basically the way to think about it. So Accam had great 3 years in Chicago, but the Union have been very, very quiet, and this is their first sort of major offseason move. Christian, your thoughts on the Union bringing in Accam, and you can even touch on the couple academy signings that we've had.
I know Dave and I talked about this yesterday, but wow. This guy torched us every time we played him. Every single time he looked incredible against us. And having a guy with the speed and the finishing technique that he does is going to pair so well with CJ Sapong, assuming that we're going to keep hold of him. If we lose him, then we're screwed. But CJ provided so many chances for his wingers this year. I was reading a bunch of stats about this. I don't have the stats on me right now, but I can provide them for you guys later.
All right, we trust you.
Yeah. He provided so many chances that were missed, like glaring opportunities. And just being at these games this year and then watching the away games, you see all the hard work CJ puts into the game. He may be the best hold-up striker in the league, in a league where Josie Altidore in it.
Josie's never been a good hold-up striker.
I know, but he should be. I don't know what the hell his problem is.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah. Or Fernando Adi, like a player like that. CJ Sapong really, really plays his role well, and he's not a classic striker that's just going to get into the box and finish. But he will drop deep. He will collect the ball. He will lay it off for his midfielders. He will lay it off for his wingers to create chances for them. David Accam will take those chances. That is who he is, and he is a really, really, really composed finisher from what I've seen from watching him beat the Union so many times.
Matt, I know you don't follow the Union quite as closely as all of us, but your thoughts on the Union bringing in this player?
Yeah, I know last year he broke out like crazy. He's played pretty well the last couple of years. What has he been here for, 3 or 4 years?
3 years, yep. And he's even gotten some national team call-ups for Ghana.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's great for the Union. I saw he's going to be one of our designated players. So did we just have like an open spot last year, or did we lose someone?
Maurice do. Basically, so the salary level that he is at and the roster spot, he's basically replacing Maurice do.
Okay, so we're losing Adu even though he hasn't played in, 2 years?
Yep. Yeah, we released him. He was just under contract. We couldn't cut him.
Yeah. All right. And I think he's going to open up the space for Bedoya even. He's a national team starter somehow. That's another topic, but the national team starter. So I think he should, be doing more. I think our winger is getting speedsters on the wing, guys with quality is going to help him out. So I think it's just good for the Union.
Great. Christian Sandler, I know you covered the team probably closer than any of us. What are your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, so I think Accam is a great signing. You can't really argue with the numbers. 14 goals and 8 assists last season. He was phenomenal. The Union desperately needed another winger. Someone that can do what Pontius did a couple seasons ago and score a bunch of goals. One of the huge problems, I think, was Sapong just getting trapped by both center backs without alleviating any of the pressure on the outside. This is going to be huge. I mean, that's what hold-up striking is you hold it up and you wait for the very fast wingers on the outside. So they have that problem covered. I think Accam is going to be a great fit. I just don't think it's enough quite yet to start talking about the playoffs with the Union. I think a number 10 is even more crucial than a winger. I wrote a column this week regarding Andre Blake and how I think, as good as he is, the Union are using up too much of the little money that they do have, and I don't think the fans are going to see a big number 10 signing now. But you gotta have help and support right behind Sapong. He cannot do it all by himself. A winger of this caliber is great. It's a step in the right direction, but I'm not convinced that the Union will be a playoff team and can score enough goals with the current setup.
So we'll link to Christian's article, listeners, so you can click on that. Great article as always, fantastic writer. But to Christian's point about the Union being a playoff team, I mean, it's going to come down to development of young players. So this club has been preaching that they want to develop talent. They want to be churning out kids from the academy who are contributing at the MLS level. And this is the first year that they're really going to have an opportunity. I think they have 5 academy signings from the Union Academy, as well as Najem, who comes from the Red Bulls Academy. And I think that they're putting a lot of hope and just pressure on these kids to contribute. And if they can develop, because Derek Jones has serious potential, and if he can develop, and if Najem can develop, I mean, he's going to be 23. I mean, 23-year-old all over the world are contributing at incredibly high levels. So if he can contribute and become that number 10, I think that there's a possibility. I mean, I still would like to see them sign a legit number 10, but it's really them in the playoffs. I think is all going to come down to how these academy kids can actually develop, and they have no good track record of developing young talent. So which doesn't bode well, but I think that's the strategy they're going with, and hopefully, they can figure it out. But I'm excited by the Econ move, and I'm excited because if their strategy is to go with youth, fine. Then I want to see these kids develop, and hope that happens. Christian, Knittel, anything else you want to add?
Derek Jones is going to be a very, very good center midfielder. I'm not concerned about him. I really do think he has that potential, and he's going to live up to it. But yeah, the rest of them, I don't know. It's all up in the air. We don't know how that's going to turn out, and we're putting a lot of pressure on them, and they're going to have to live up to it, or we're going to be out again. Right now, this number 10 you guys are talking about, is Elsinho not playing there? I think he was fine in that role.
Yeah, I think he's fine there, but he's never played there in his whole career. Last year was his first time ever playing as a number 10. He's 31, 32.
There, compared to him when he plays on the wing.
Well, yeah, he looked okay in there, but if you signed a player who played number 10, who plays it the way that the Union want to play, with pressing offensively and defensively, I think there was still something there to be desired on the defensive end, as well as like final pass from Elsinho in the number 10 role. So I think it could be improved upon him. But yeah, right now I think if the season were to start tomorrow, I think Elsinho's in the number 10. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you guys got it.
Christian Sandler?
Yeah, I mean, very quickly on Elsinho, I think he's a good player. He's very good with the ball. I think we're just talking bigger picture here. I mean, I think Elsinho can do well enough in that role, but I mean, the Eastern Conference, it's loaded right now, and to make the playoffs, I just think you have to get better. I've seen Najem play a few times, once in Bethlehem with the Steel. I think he's a very good player, but you just have to wonder, is he in Bethlehem at all? If he's the answer. So I'm not sure. I think Elsinho is suitable, but suitable is not good enough in MLS anymore. I just don't think it's good enough.
Is Eric Ayuk coming back into the team? Is he even still around?
Yeah, so he's back from his loan to Sweden or Norway or wherever the heck he was in Scandinavia. So he's back, but he's a wing player. He's not a number 10.
I know. I just meant as a winger.
Yep. So he'll be back, but let's stick in MLS but switch gears to player acquisition. So I know we were talking about the Akam trade, because it really was a trade. It wasn't a transfer, because MLS is just weird and we can't just be normal. But Sasha Kljestan recently came out with a quote that he said that in the next MLS negotiations with the Players Union, so the next CBA, which I believe is up in 2020 or maybe 2022. So in the next few years, it's going to be coming up. But he said that players need to really, be taken into account with being traded without their consent. So he wasn't speaking about himself personally, because he said, Jesse Marsh worked with him to get him in Orlando where he was okay. But last year, I mean, Dax McCarty was traded to Chicago Fire and he was completely blindsided. And the way that MLS works and the contracts and the way that the league is structured, that can happen. I know that's normal for American sports, but for soccer around the world, that is not normal whatsoever. Matt, what were your thoughts on, just players being traded without their consent? And is it just, how do you view it from kind of the soccer lens about how it doesn't really happen the rest of the world?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, I understand it's a business and you know what you're kind of getting into, you can be moved whenever, but I think it's just crazy that you have such little say, completely blindsided by it, because it's a big deal. You're up and moving your life, you're moving your home, you're moving your family, or you're leaving your family. So I think it's just a crazy thing. I mean, you are getting compensated for it. And I mean, obviously MLS isn't the highest paying league, but it's not like you're not making money. You're still going to have a job. It's just hard to. Yeah, it's just like a tough adjustment, I think. I know, like in basketball, the players have no trade, or like the players have like a waive clause, a trade waive. Trade waive. Yeah. So
Trade
like they'll
waiver?
give people, yeah, trade waiver. So because that was a big thing this summer with like Carmelo Anthony like, getting traded all these places, but like he wouldn't want to go there. So like the Knicks were accepting all these offers, but he wouldn't go. He was refusing to go to like Milwaukee or something. So sorry, Milwaukee fans.
Yeah, Milwaukee's a lovely place.
Yeah, Milwaukee's a great place. Carmelo just doesn't want to go there. So I think it's in American sports, like there should be, because we have other sports where players have this no trade clause. I think it would be nice to see that in the MLS.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to your point, I mean, some of these MLS players, MLS minimum salary is $53,000 for the lowest level players. I mean, that's not a lot of money to uproot your life and move across the country or go somewhere else. I mean, that's not a lot of money to do that for. When you're talking, other leagues and hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's not a big deal. But in MLS, it has the potential to be a big deal. What's up, Matt?
Well, like I know, like other like big sports teams, like I'm sure like the organization has things like they have a guy in the organization that helps you find a house, like helps you find reasonable living.
Yeah, but making $53,000 in Milwaukee, or to pick an MLS franchise in Salt Lake City, versus making $53,000 in LA is a huge deal and a huge difference.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that they should have a say, and there should be a no trade clause, and the union should hold rather firm on that. Christian Sandler, your thoughts on MLS players being traded?
Yeah, I dream of the day that the MLS is like every other soccer league in the world. I mean, you mentioned earlier it is a business. I fully understand that. I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs of running an MLS organization, but something like the Dax McCarty thing that you mentioned, money aside, which I think was bizarre in of itself, but yeah, he was totally blindsided. I'm not sure that should ever happen. And again, we can talk about promotion, relegation, and stuff like that, but I just think there are models in place that have been working for years, and MLS has to be different. And I don't understand why. Without getting into the details, it's kind of frustrating for, I think, the followers that follow all these other big leagues in the world. The MLS is it's not on the same level on and off the pitch, I think.
Agreed. And in fairness to MLS, I think a lot of these rules had a place and had a logic 10, 20 years ago when the league was incredibly unstable. They didn't know if it was going to be functioning tomorrow. But nowadays it's incredibly stable. And I think they need to start loosening, the whatever tights, or I don't even know the right word to use. I'm terrible with expressions. I combine all different kinds of expressions. So they need to start, just letting loose, and loosening up some of these arcane rules. Christian, Knittel, your thoughts on players being traded without consent?
So this is a tough one because we were just talking about how there's no loyalty to the clubs, but there's no loyalty to the players. And unfortunately, that's the way the business is. That is the way the league is run. That is the way almost every league is run. Yeah, they're all run a little bit differently, in which you have contracts which you can negotiate out of, or transfer fees in Europe.
Well, you can't be transferred overseas. You can't be transferred overseas without consent.
You can't be transferred overseas?
Yeah, so
in England.
Yeah,
I do understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
sorry.
Is it up to the players over there? They get the final say if they want to go somewhere or not. And it is kind of weird that you don't get a say. Is that in American sports altogether, or is that only in MLS right now?
No, so like Matt said, it all depends on the CBA and the negotiation. So in football, I think the owners have all the power. So football, you can be traded anytime. Baseball, you need to negotiate in your own contract if you want a no trade clause. And it seems like the NBA may have just a default no trade clause. I don't know how the NHL works.
seems weirdly like slavery almost, that you get no say in where you are going to live. I understand they're getting paid thousands, millions of dollars depending who they are.
Yeah.
And but
say that.
you get no, and they live a life of lavish. I get it. I understand. Yeah. But like you have no say over where you're going to be. And that just doesn't seem right. If you're settled in your life, they all have families too. They may be settled, they may have all their friends, they may be going to school somewhere. And you're just uprooted and like, oh, next day, yo, sorry, you got to go, like, without warning, and that's unacceptable. That seems crazy.
This was a huge deal. Laurent Simon, who was on Montreal, and he lived in Montreal because I believe I want to get this story right, and I apologize if I get it wrong, but I believe his daughter had some sort of special disability, and she was going to a specific school in Montreal for that. That's why he signed with Montreal. He was happy there, and he got traded this offseason to LAFC just out of nowhere. And he's from France. This was completely new to him. He didn't even know this could happen. And now he has to figure out, his whole family situation because of this. And I just don't think it's right, and hopefully I think MLS and the Players Union, figures out a happy medium because this shouldn't happen. Christian Sandler, anything else you want to add?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that's a good example. Obviously it can't be perfect across the board, but it's time to get along with the trends here. MLS, we got to change.
Agreed. Matt, anything else you want to
add? No.
Okay. Christian, anything else you would like to add?
I have nothing on this. Nope.
All right. Guys, anything else any of you want to add about any of the topics we discussed or anything else from the soccer world?
Do you guys think Aubameyang's going to Arsenal this month?
I do not think he will go.
I do. Christian Sandler?
Okay.
I'm not sure. I would not be surprised if he went. How about we put it that way?
Okay.
Also, I will give you guys a quick championship update. Wolves is going to be back in the Premier League. No one wants to see that. I'm very disappointed. Derby County's in second, but they've been in second like for the past 10 years and they never get promoted. Aston Villa is right in the thick of the playoff race, so another big club that may be coming back up. A lot of people would be interested in that. Cardiff as well. We could have two Welsh teams again. And more importantly, with a win,
doesn't look like.
Well, yeah, maybe not. It's fun. We could have zero. But more importantly, Leeds has dropped off. Literally this time last month, they were in second place. They're now in 10th. Typical Leeds. And more importantly, if Fulham win the next match here against Barnsley, we are back into the playoffs, which everyone is happy about. Yeah. So that is the championship update.
We as a podcast support you and Fulham and their efforts. Matt, something else you wanted to add?
How's John Terry doing at Villa, Mr. Championship?
I don't have a clue. I can't think of a player I hate more than John Terry. Well, maybe I could, but I will not care about John Terry ever.
All right. Fair enough. Christian Knittel, you want to recap our trivia question?
Yeah, just a reminder, the trivia question this week was brought to you by John Truman. The trivia question this week. I will not agree or disagree with that comment. So the trivia question is, why do the Chelsea fans call Cesar Azpilicueta Dave?
Okay,
Christian Sandler, since you're our guest, you want to reveal your answer?
Yeah, just for the record, I don't know the answer to this. Again, I don't pay attention to Chelsea much, certainly as little as I can. So it sounds ridiculous. He's Spanish. Where are we getting Dave from? I don't.
So that's the
okay.
That's the answer. That's what we're looking for from you.
Am I supposed to guess at why this is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
It's a trivia.
Okay, maybe he was in some promotional Chelsea video, kind of like the Uncle Drew thing. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. So how about some promotional video where he was called Dave for something.
Okay.
Right. I like that guess. Matt, your thoughts?
It was too hard to pronounce.
Yeah, so his last name, Azpilicueta, was too hard to pronounce for Chelsea fans, so they just started calling him Dave. That is my guess as well.
You know what? I would venture to say that across a lot of clubs in the country, they could pronounce that last name. Typical Chelsea.
All right, so the real reason, it was because it was difficult to pronounce, but there's like a reason why they use Dave.
Yeah, so I don't know that. So,
so
because that's the best name ever.
So there was a character in a British comedy TV show, Only Fools and Horses. named Rodney, and his friends thought it was an awful name, so they called him Dave only. And so they stole that and only call Cesar Azpilicueta Dave.
Oh, there you go. I like that. That was a good trivia question. So you built on of some of our already existing knowledge. So with that, podcast listeners, I know we were a little long this week, but we appreciate you sticking with us throughout. Thank you for listening. Christian Sandler, thank you for being with us.
Of course, guys.
If you want to get in contact with us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. We will tweet out all of the links to any of the stories we discussed here from our Bros Talking Soccer Twitter handle, which is @BTSoccerPod. They'll also be in the podcast show notes right underneath where you listen to this podcast. Go check out our Fan Futsal YouTube channel. Also, make sure to check out our Soccer Tavern YouTube channel. And everything was brought to you by Fan Futsal, FANFUTSAL.com. Go check that out once we are back up in a few weeks. With that, guys, Christian, Matt, Christian, thank you guys for being here, and we will talk to you all next week. See you, everyone.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
There you go. All right, guys. That was cool. Luke, if you're still there, thank you for tuning in. We had
Apparently there were a bunch of people leaving comments. Luke was giving them shit.
Yeah, I was somebody else was here messaging and whatnot, so I was responding. But people watching on YouTube, thank you for watching, and see you guys next week. Are we gonna do Sunday?
Yeah, we can do Sunday next week.
All right, so I think we're gonna do Sunday next week. All right, see you, YouTubers. Bye.